My name is Angela Torres, and I never imagined I would be sharing a story like this. But after Jesus showed the shocking truth about the mark of the beast during my death experience, I realized I had no other choice. What I saw, what I felt, and what I learned from the other side changed everything. The truth I discovered was too profound to keep to myself, especially now, when the world seems to be teetering on the edge of something we can't quite grasp. So I hope you'll watch and listen to my testimony to the end, because it's not just my story, it's a message from Jesus for all of us. It happened last year, December 8th, 2023. I had just finished a long week of grading essays at the high school where I taught English. The sun dipped low as I drove home on Route 84, painting the New Mexico desert in soft hues of gold and purple. The road was quiet, and I allowed my thoughts to wander. I thought about my son Mateo, struggling in school and retreating into himself. I thought about the harsh argument with my sister, still unresolved, and the guilt that gnawed at me for leaving things unsaid. My phone buzzed beside me on the passenger seat. A text from a colleague, nothing urgent, but I reached for it anyway. The deer appeared out of nowhere. Its eyes glowed in my headlights, wide and startled, as I swerved instinctively to avoid it. My car skidded on the loose gravel, spinning wildly before crashing into the ravine. I felt the jarring impact, then nothing at all. The next thing I knew, I was outside my body. I could see the wreckage of my car below, crumpled like a soda can, and my own body slumped against the steering wheel, blood pooling from a gash on my forehead. Yet I felt no pain, no panic, just a profound stillness. It was as if I were watching a scene from a movie, detached and weightless. The air around me shimmered with a strange, golden light. I could hear distant voices, the paramedics shouting, the crackle of their radios, but those sounds seemed far away, muted by the overwhelming peace that enveloped me. I became aware of a presence. It wasn't visible, but it was powerful, like a warm, loving energy wrapping itself around me. I felt safe, as though I were being cradled by something infinitely good. The golden light grew brighter, pulling me gently upward. It wasn't like moving through space, but more like being carried on a current. I surrendered completely, trusting whatever was guiding me. Then, as the light enveloped me entirely, I found myself in a place that defied description. It wasn't a place in the physical sense. There were no buildings, no ground, no sky, yet it felt more real than anything I had ever known. Colors swirled in hues I had never seen on Earth, and the air was alive with music that seemed to emanate from everything around me. In the distance, I saw a figure walking toward me. When the figure appeared from the misty light, I felt an overwhelming sense of peace wash over me, even before I could clearly see who it was. The figure approached with a presence that seemed to still the air itself, and my heart raced in a mixture of awe and anticipation. As he came closer, I recognized him immediately. It was Jesus, though he didn't look like the images I had grown up with. He was not the figure of a man painted in classical religious art, but someone more real, more alive. His eyes were what struck me most, deep, knowing, and filled with a love so pure it took my breath away. There was an ancient wisdom in his gaze, an understanding of everything I had ever gone through, every pain I had ever felt, and every hope I had ever dreamed of. His presence radiated warmth, peace, and an undeniable authority, yet there was no trace of judgment in his gaze. I could feel my fears dissolve as he looked at me, his gaze calming every storm inside me. It was as if he knew exactly who I was, who I had been, and who I was capable of becoming. His presence was more powerful than anything I could have imagined, but at the same time, I felt utterly safe, as though I was in the presence of someone who had known me for lifetimes and loved me regardless of my flaws. I could sense that I was unworthy of such love, yet he did not see me through the lens of my mistakes. Instead, he saw me as I truly was, someone worthy of love, grace, and forgiveness. "Angela," he said, "you are safe. You are loved." I felt a sob rise in my chest. There was something so familiar and so incredibly comforting about his words that it felt like coming home. "Why me?" I whispered, my voice trembling with emotion. "Why am I here? I don't deserve this." Jesus knelt beside me, his hand warm as he placed it on my shoulder. His touch was more soothing than any physical comfort I had ever known, and I could feel my entire being relax under his gentle presence. "It is not about deserving," he said. "It is about love. Come, there is much to see." I nodded, feeling overwhelmed, as he helped me to my feet. As we began to walk, I couldn't help but feel that this moment was going to change my life forever. I felt a deep inner peace, as though everything that had ever troubled me had been temporarily forgotten, and that in this moment, I was exactly where I was meant to be. As Jesus took my hand, I felt an inexplicable sense of unity with him, as though we were one being walking through the dimensions of existence. I had no idea where we were going, but I didn't need to. I trusted him completely. Together, we journeyed through what I can only describe as realms of existence, each one a different level of consciousness or state of being. Every realm was unique, with its own distinct energy, but all were connected by the same divine source of love and light. Each realm revealed something profound about the nature of the soul, its purpose, its potential, and its journey through the afterlife. The first realm we entered was dazzling, filled with light and music. The air itself seemed to hum with joy, and the vibrancy of the colors around me was beyond anything I could have ever imagined. Souls moved freely here, glowing with a radiance that seemed to come from within, and I could feel the joy radiating from them. They were not just existing, they were creating, learning, and communing in a way that was both joyous and purposeful. As we moved through this radiant space, I noticed that the souls here were deeply engaged in some kind of work or activity, whether it was in creative expression, helping others, or simply reflecting in peaceful contemplation. There was a sense of harmony here that I had never experienced before. These souls were fully aware of their connection to the divine, and every action seemed to be an expression of love, both for themselves and for the world around them. They were living their truth and fulfilling their soul's purpose. "Who are they?" I asked. "They are the righteous," Jesus replied. "They chose love over fear, kindness over cruelty. They are not perfect, but they lived with open hearts and sought the truth. They lived their lives with an awareness of the interconnectedness of all things." As we walked through the realm, I felt the energy of these souls surround me, enveloping me in a warmth and joy that was almost overwhelming. It was a love so pure and unconditional that I could feel it deep within my own soul. I understood for the first time that love was not just a feeling, but the very essence of being. It was the force that held everything together. The next realm we entered was quieter, more introspective. Here the atmosphere was calm and still, and the souls I saw here were not engaging in activity, but rather standing before what seemed to be mirrors. These mirrors didn't reflect physical appearances as ours do. Instead, they revealed something far deeper, the essence of the soul's journey. Each mirror revealed the choices a soul had made during its life, the consequences of those choices, and the opportunities for growth. "What is this place?" I asked. "A place of growth," Jesus said. "Here, souls review their lives, not with judgment but with clarity. They see where they succeeded, where they stumbled, and where they can grow." I watched in silence as a soul stood before its mirror, its face filled with emotion as it took in the life it had lived. At first, there was sadness, as the soul seemed to realize its past mistakes and missed opportunities. But then, something changed. The sadness turned to understanding. The soul smiled softly, as though it had come to a deep realization that it could always grow and learn, no matter how many mistakes it had made. There was no condemnation here, only a profound sense of learning and self-awareness. The final realm we visited was the most challenging. It was heavy, though not hopeless. Souls here wandered in darkness, burdened by regret and despair. The weight of their choices seemed to have paralyzed them, and many of them were trapped in a cycle of hopelessness. Yet, even in the deepest shadows, there was a faint light, a flickering glow that reminded me of a candle in the wind. It wasn't much, but it was enough to remind me that hope was never truly lost. "Why are they here?" I asked. "They are lost," Jesus said, "but not abandoned. They carry the weight of their choices and have not yet accepted love and forgiveness. But it is never too late. No matter how far they've wandered, they can always turn toward the light." As we walked, I saw some souls turning toward that faint light, their faces softening with hope. It was as if, in that moment, they realized that they didn't have to carry their burdens alone. They could choose love, choose to forgive themselves, and choose to find their way back to peace. Some of these souls remained lost in the darkness, but there was no condemnation in this realm, only the understanding that every soul has the potential to choose the light, even if that journey takes time. Jesus then showed me a vision of Earth, not as it was, but as it could become. I saw a world transformed by technology, where humanity was more connected yet more divided than ever before. "Beware the deception," he said. "There will come a time when convenience is offered at the cost of freedom. The mark will seem harmless, but will separate you from the divine." As I stood with Jesus in that radiant, otherworldly realm, a deep sense of peace enveloped me, but it was soon tempered by a weighty shift in his demeanor. His face, full of compassion and understanding, grew serious. His piercing gaze locked onto mine, and though his words were calm, their gravity resonated deeply. "Angela," he began, "there is something I must show you. A warning for the days to come." I felt a mixture of apprehension and trust. I nodded, ready to receive whatever truth he had to impart, though part of me trembled at the thought of it. Jesus reached out, touching my hand, and suddenly, the luminous surroundings dimmed. We were now standing in a vast, modern city. Skyscrapers loomed high above, their mirrored surfaces reflecting a cold, metallic world. People bustled around us, their faces downturned and expressionless, as if drained of vitality. "What is this place?" I asked. "This is a glimpse of a possible future," Jesus replied. "A world where many have traded their divine connection for earthly control." As he spoke, my eyes were drawn to something unusual about the people. Most wore a distinct mark on their right hands or foreheads. It was a small glowing insignia, almost like a barcode but more intricate, pulsating faintly with light. I felt an unnatural pull toward it, as if it carried an invisible weight. "What is that mark?" I whispered, dread creeping into my heart. Jesus' voice was firm yet mournful. "It is the mark of submission, what some will call the mark of the beast. A sign that they have chosen allegiance to a system that opposes God. At first, it will appear harmless, even beneficial, promising ease and unity. But beneath its surface lies a profound deception." I watched as the people moved about, seamlessly interacting with glowing screens and devices embedded into their surroundings. Transactions occurred without a word, with merely a wave of their marked hand. Food, clothing, shelter, all acquired in an instant. It seemed efficient, even ideal, but something about it felt deeply wrong. Why would they choose this? I asked, my chest tightening. "They will be told it is necessary," Jesus said. "Economic collapse, chaos, and scarcity will drive many to seek refuge in what appears to be order. This mark will promise security, prosperity, and even life itself. But accepting it comes at a great spiritual cost." He gestured toward a man standing in line at a kiosk. As the man raised his hand to confirm his purchase, I noticed his expression, an odd mixture of apathy and resignation. It was as if he had lost a part of himself, his soul buried beneath the weight of conformity. "Look deeper," Jesus urged. At his command, my vision sharpened, and I saw beyond the physical. A dark, oppressive aura surrounded those with the mark, binding them like chains. Their spiritual light, the essence I had seen glowing in souls during my earlier journey, was dimmed, nearly extinguished. Tears filled my eyes. "They've lost themselves," I murmured. "They have forfeited their connection to the divine," Jesus confirmed. "This mark is not just a physical symbol, it signifies a deeper choice. To receive it is to reject the truth of who you are as a child of God." I turned back to him, desperate for answers. "But surely they don't understand. They can't know what they're giving up." He nodded, his expression full of sorrow. "Many will be deceived, Angela. They will believe it is merely a tool, a way to survive or thrive in a shifting world. But the choice runs deeper than they realize. It is a test of the heart, of faith, and of trust in God." As he spoke, the scene shifted. I saw a small group of people standing apart from the crowd. Unlike the others, they bore no mark. Their faces were serene yet vigilant, their eyes filled with an inner light that was unmistakably divine. "Who are they?" I asked. "They are the faithful," Jesus said. "Those who refuse the mark, even at great cost. They are mocked, ostracized, and denied access to the conveniences of the system. Some will even face persecution, but they remain steadfast, knowing that their true treasure lies beyond this world." I felt a swell of hope, but it was quickly overshadowed by concern. What happens to those who take the mark? Is there no hope for them? Jesus placed a hand on my shoulder, his touch filling me with a bittersweet warmth. "My mercy is boundless," he said. "But for those who take the mark willingly, rejecting the truth in their hearts, they create a chasm between themselves and God. Redemption is always possible, but the journey back will be arduous." I looked again at the people with the mark. Their lives seemed so comfortable, so seamless, yet hollow. I realized that their perceived freedom was, in truth, enslavement, a surrender of their divine will for fleeting earthly gain. "What can I do?" I asked. "How can I warn others?" Jesus' eyes met mine, and I felt the weight of his love and sorrow. "Speak the truth, Angela. Share what you have seen. Many will dismiss it, some will mock you, but there will be those who listen. You cannot force anyone to choose, but you can plant seeds of understanding. The rest is between them and God." As his words settled into my spirit, the vision began to fade, and we returned to the radiant heavenly realm. My heart was heavy with the knowledge I now carried, but it was also filled with resolve. I knew I could not remain silent about what I had witnessed. "Remember," Jesus said, "you were shown this not to instill fear, but to awaken hope and vigilance. My children must remain anchored in truth, seeking guidance from the Holy Spirit and trusting in God's provision. The mark may promise much, but nothing compares to the glory of walking in alignment with the divine." I nodded, tears streaming down my face. "I will do my best, Lord. I'll warn them." Jesus smiled, a light of encouragement in his eyes. "That is all I ask." From that moment on, the warning about the mark of the beast became an integral part of my testimony. I knew the stakes were high and the challenges great, but I also knew that with faith, love, and courage, the truth could prevail. My mission was clear: to shine a light in the darkness, guiding others away from deception and toward the eternal embrace of God. "You must go back," Jesus said. "Your time is not yet finished. You have a mission to fulfill." The idea of leaving the divine presence of Jesus was almost unbearable. Every fiber of my soul wanted to remain in that place of love and light, where pain, fear, and doubt had no power. I looked at Jesus, my heart heavy. How can I return to earth after seeing this? How can I live there, knowing what awaits here? He smiled, a soft and compassionate smile that seemed to hold the weight of all my doubts. "Angela, your life has a purpose. Every moment you live, every choice you make, ripples into eternity. What you carry back from here will not only transform you, but will touch the lives of many others." "But I'm not strong enough," I protested. "I've failed so many times. I'm not good enough to share this message." "You are exactly as you were created to be," he said, placing a hand on my cheek. "Your imperfections are not flaws, they are opportunities for grace. Trust in the journey, and I will walk with you always." Before I could protest further, Jesus gestured, and the realms I had seen began to shift, merging into a kaleidoscope of light and color. "These are the memories you will carry back," he said. "Though they may fade with time, they will remain in your soul, guiding you. Trust the voice within, for it will always lead you home." At that moment, he reached out and touched my heart. I felt a surge of energy, love, and understanding so profound that it seemed to shatter every barrier within me. The next thing I knew, I was gasping for air. Pain shot through my body, and the sound of sirens filled my ears. I was back in the wreckage of my car, paramedics working frantically to stabilize me. "Stay with us," one of them shouted, his voice urgent. I wanted to tell him that I was already more alive than I had ever been, but my body was too weak. Darkness closed in again, but this time, I felt no fear. The days following my recovery were filled with a mix of wonder and confusion. I tried to explain my experience to the doctors, but they dismissed it as a hallucination caused by oxygen deprivation. Yet I knew the truth. What I had seen, what I had felt, was more real than anything in this physical world. Returning to everyday life was one of the hardest parts of my journey. Everything felt different. Colors seemed brighter, people's emotions more transparent, and my own soul seemed to vibrate with a new energy. I couldn't go back to living the way I had before. My priorities shifted dramatically. I reached out to my sister, apologizing for the argument and seeking reconciliation. I spent more time with Matteo, not just helping him with his schoolwork, but truly listening to him, understanding his struggles and fears. Now, 1 year after my near-death experience, I can still feel the echoes of that divine encounter. Life hasn't been perfect. I still face challenges, doubts, and moments of fear, but I carry with me the unshakable knowledge that I am loved, that we are all loved, and that our journeys are part of something far greater than we can imagine. As I share this story with you, my hope is that it will spark something within you, a reminder of the light that resides in every soul and the infinite love that surrounds us all. Because even in our darkest moments, we are never truly alone.